time for the Big Three, and today's topics: 2014 blame game and this week's must read. So let's bring in my Big Three panel. Republican strategist and former White House aide to President George H.W. Bush, Joe Watkins, professor of political science at Hiram College, Jason Johnson, and editor of Citizen Jane Politics and contributor for Newsweek and the Daily Beast, Patricia Murphy. Welcome back to all three of you. I'm glad to have you.
Thanks, Alex.
So
hey,
first, guys, we're going to go to 2014. There's this new article in the New York Times which says Republicans' hopes to take the Senate in 2014 are dimming. Here's the quote: "Instead of sharpening their attack on Democrats, Republicans on Capitol Hill are being forced to explain why they are not to blame and why Americans should trust them to govern both houses of Congress when the one they do run is in such a disarray." Joe, what do you think, considering everything that's going on right now?
Well, of course, you know, the American public has a dim view of Congress right now. Congress has some of the lowest rating numbers it's had in a long time. But remember, all politics are local. So how Americans feel about the Congress in general differs from how they feel about their particular member of Congress, whether it's the U.S. Senator or the U.S. member of Congress that represents them. So there's a chance still for Republicans to do better, maybe even to win a majority in the Senate, despite the fact that we've had this government shutdown. You
know what's interesting, Patricia? This article points out that House Republicans feel a little more comfortable keeping their seats because of the carefully redrawn districts, the gerrymandering. But that's not the case in the Senate. So what will the impact be in terms of next year's midterms in that part of Congress?
I think the House is looking worse and worse for Republicans, and it's not only because of what Republicans have done and how they've handled the government shutdown, which every poll shows that most Americans blame Republicans for that. There's also a very unusual dynamic happening within the U.S. Senate, that there are outside independent conservative groups running ads against sitting U.S. Republican senators. So right now, these sitting Republican senators not only have to worry about Democrats that they're running against, they have forces within their own party currently running ads against them, calling them weak leaders, saying that they are not in the, they're not in politics for you, they're in politics for themselves. So Republicans are literally their own worst enemies right now. And for a party that wants to retake the Senate, that must pick up at least 6 Senate seats, they are making their own job almost impossible.
So, Jason, how do we interpret the overall political landscape now? Is the GOP committing party suicide in one sense, or is that just wishful spinning by Democrats?
Yeah. At this point, a wise Confederate general once said, never get close to a circular firing squad. Like, that's what the Republicans are doing right now. I mean, the Senate's arguing with the other senators and the House is arguing with the Senate. The Republicans are killing themselves. And they really could have solved a lot of these problems. Had they not caused this government shutdown, they could have just let Obamacare roll out, absolutely fail by next summer, and they could have run on that. But unfortunately, now they've given themselves a terrible reputation. So the landscape does not look pretty. Now, a week is a lifetime in politics. But if this issue ends up lasting into next summer, the Republicans have no chance of gaining seats in the Senate and probably will lose seats in the House.
Okay, guys, moving to blame game. I want to take a listen to some of the back and forth going on right now between Republicans and Democrats. Roll this.
It doesn't appear as though the president wants anything except more tax revenue with tax increases yet again.
House Republicans decided they were going to take the Obamacare hostage and shut down our government.
Apparently, we're getting a bait-and-switch strategy from the White House. The president apparently was not negotiating in good faith.
It's troubling to me that not a single Republican would step up and allow us to start the debate on whether or not we avoid the debt ceiling default.
We're trying to protect our children and our grandchildren's future, and the president just wants business as usual to spend money we don't have.
It's hard for me to comprehend, but every Republican voted against this. This was a motion to proceed.
Patricia, isn't this exactly what the American public is just sick of?
This is why Congress has a 5% approval rating, and I don't know who those 5% of people are.
You're right, who are they?
Yeah, I literally have no idea. John McCain always says that it's blood relatives and paid staffers, and since the staffers aren't getting paid, I don't think they're liking Congress very much anyway. And listen, I think the Democrats are making a mistake to think that this is a pure political win for them. Yes, 70% of people disapprove of what Republicans are doing. 59% of people disapprove of what Democrats are doing, and that is not a recipe for winning back any particular House of Congress. And so I think Democrats also, they are pushing the Republicans very, very hard right now. They've added sort of a backpedaling piece of this that's not to get into too many details, but I think Democrats are in danger of overreaching on this. They are pushing Republicans harder than they even need to push them, and I think it's not, nobody is winning in this scenario right now.
Jason, sick of it? What do you think?
Yeah, look, it's really simple. The Republicans have overplayed their hand. They thought Barack Obama was the same Obama from the first term, who was going to capitulate, who was going to be left naked at the poker table like he always was when he had to negotiate with Congress. And this time he's got some backbone. He knows he doesn't have to run again. So is everyone going to get harmed? Of course everyone's going to get harmed. But the Republicans are going to get harmed worse, and that's bad long-term strategy, not just for 2014, but for 2016, because Ted Cruz and any of these guys associated with this, they're going to have to answer for it when they're running against Hillary Clinton.
Okay. Joe, you're going with the big three for their must-read. So, Joe, as promised, what's yours?
Well, my must-read, of course, is by Maureen Dowd, and it's a piece called A Mad Tea Party. It's a funny piece, actually, and it's not particularly complimentary to Republicans, but she's such a great writer and is always so provocative and thought-provoking. I really appreciate it. You ought to read it.
Yeah, I definitely will. I always do. Make it an appointment to read her. Jason, yours?
Point of clarification, I'm an Eagles fan, but this article is in Time Magazine. It's talking about a mysterious defense of the Washington Redskins name. If you want to understand why people are offended about this issue, why that team needs to change, it's a great article to read. It's not preachy, it's just common sense.
You know, that thing is really building steam, that issue. It is not going to be. We had a guest on about 3 weeks with that, and we're still talking about it. Okay, Patricia, how about yours?
Yes, mine is the Twitter feed for Robert Costa at the National Review Online. He covers Republican leadership, and his Twitter feed is like a Twitter feed for the right and left half of the brains of the Republican Party. I say it's like the white smoke at the Vatican. This guy has covered the Republicans top to bottom. He gets all the twists and turns, and it's just a great read, and it goes just about 24 hours a day.
Wow, that's very progressive of you, Patricia Murphy. Twitter.
Thank you.
Okay. Joe Watkins, Jason Johnson, and Patricia, you guys, thanks so much. That's a wrap. Mark's counting me down. I got 5 seconds to say goodbye, so